Coming today, we're going to get started. Just wanted to begin by making an overall statement about our class. Very, very excited with my first signing class here at Indiana. Couldn't be more pleased with the quality of the young men that we've attracted to our great university. High character guys from really good families that care about school and really good football players. So that's a combination we were looking for. I think it's about fit here more than anything, getting guys that fit with who we are, what we want. Want tough guys that want to compete, and that's really the mantra that I tell our coaches we want to go find. And so this is a class full of those kind of guys. I like our length in this class. I like our size in this class. You know, the Big Ten starts with the word big, and we want big guys that can play and run and be physical. And I think this is a class that has all those attributes. So really excited about the group, and what I'm going to do here is go through them in alphabetical order, and that way we can be efficient with that and do it in a very organized way. Happens to be the first young man there is last name Allen, that I'm related to, and I know his mother well, and helped me, I think, to seal the deal. But Thomas is a young man that comes to us from Plant High School in Tampa. He's a guy that I obviously know well, but I also have tried to be objective throughout the process. It's really tough when you're a dad to be that. So I really pulled myself out of the whole process, to be honest with you, and had Coach Wilson as the head coach at the time when I got here to recruit him and let the staff take care of it. And that's kind of how we handled it. And I think that was the right way to do it and to treat him like anybody else that we were recruiting. And so the thing that stuck out to me about him was he's been in two different programs in high school. He's played in 3 state championship games in 2 different states, and has played at a very high level ever since his freshman year. Started as a freshman, had 470 total tackles in his 4 years playing high school football, and ended as the 2016 Tampa Bay Times Defensive Player of the Year, which was in that area of the country, there's a lot of good football players. So really proud of what he's accomplished as a young man in the classroom, excellent student, and he's enrolled here at this time. Britt Beery, another first-class young man from Carmel High School. Coach Hebert, a program that I have a ton of respect for. Another big young man at 6'6", 270 pounds, and still growing. I think he's a guy that's just going to continue to develop. He's a multi-sport guy. Many of our guys are multi-sport athletes, and plays on their basketball team, won a state championship. We have many players in this class that played in the state championship game. Several won, several were runners-up. And Britt's a first-class young man, awesome family, and very excited to have Britt as a part of our family here at IU. Lance Bryant from Manville, Texas, another young man from a great high school program. That's 3 in a row right there. We're playing in the state championship game in 2015, and 55-5 is his high school record as a player at Manville, one of the better programs in the country. And he's a very good pass rusher. Very excited about Lance. It was a big priority. This class is loaded with D linemen and D-line bodies, even guys that may play on either side of the ball, but D-line body types that we were trying to target. It was a real struggle last year when I first got here to address this area, and did not do that like we wanted to upon my arrival, and so we made it a priority, and Coach Hagan did a tremendous job, and he's one of the strong guys. As you see, we got 2 right there out of the gate at that side of the ball in that area. Juwan Burgess might be the surprise of the class. I know it wasn't a signing day surprise, but a few weeks ago here he committed to us a flip from USC, and the fact that he was supposed to go there. Obviously had a connection with him, with he being on my son's team, and had a chance as a dad to go watch a lot of different practices, just because you can do that through the NCAA rules when you're a parent. And just so I got a chance to see him a lot, and close relationship with my son. Obviously, a heck of a football player, and he played both sides of the ball, returns, punts. He's going to be a safety for us. Very physical, can run extremely well, highly competitive, tough guy, and really, really excited to have Juwan as a part of our program. Harry Kreider, in-state young man, playing for Bob Gaddis at Columbus East. Mr. Football at the offensive line position in the state of Indiana. Excellent student, tremendous family. Loves Indiana, was committed to Virginia before. We flipped him to his home state, which he really wanted to be. And once again, another young man that played for a state championship. And that's a common theme you're going to see from these guys, from great programs, leaders on those programs, team captain. That's the kind of guys we want here at Indiana. Morgan Ellison, big running back out of Ohio. Really, really excited about Morgan. I think he's a guy that's got tremendous upside. He's kind of battled injuries through his career, missed his first couple years due to those injuries. Played his senior year on a team that went 13-2 in the state semifinals at Pickerington High School there in Ohio. 6'1", 220 pounds. We were looking for a big back in this class to be able to be the guy that can help our program in both special teams and in multiple positions. And I think that's another thing you're going to hear is guys that can do a lot of different things. We tried to get body types, versatile guys that we can be able to get on the team that had high character, care about school, and are really good football players. And then we figure out where we're going to put him when we get him here. But he's a big running back. Excited about Morgan. Brian Fitzgerald. This is a guy that I saw when I first got here, and I told our coaches, he committed to us early. We got to hold on to this guy because he's going to get a lot of attention, and he did. You know, he's another Mr. Football Award winner for the state of Indiana at the defensive back position out of Avon High School, there for Coach Mark Bless, a person I have a ton of respect for, and he does a tremendous job there. One of the best players, if not the best player in all of this state. I think he's a great, great player. Running back, played outside linebacker for them, is going to be a safety for us, kick returner, just a dynamic football player, and also another fine young man that fits those qualities we talked about. And he's a highly competitive individual that played basketball growing up through, and just really excited about Brian Fitzgerald. We call him Fitzy. Ty Freifogel is a guy that we really got in on because of Coach Hurd, bottom line. And so when Coach Hurd joined our staff, we don't usually recruit the state of Mississippi heavily. This is now our second recruit in 2 years that we got from there, and from my time down there as a college coach at Ole Miss. And so Ty's joined us, a big receiver. Love him. And the family that we met is just a great group of people. Once again, just want this program to be filled with people that have character, have values, have things that we know are going to make them successful on and off the field. And he played in the very prestigious Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game, which is a big-time game down there where you play against a lot of elite talent. And he's just a big receiver, which is what we like to have in this program, and that's not going to change. Next young man is Juan Harris. He's an early enrollee. He is a very large individual and big, strong, athletic guy that we're thrilled to have. All-state player, throws the shot and discus in high school, and multi-sport guy like we like to get. And but he's here with us, and that was a big deal for him to get on campus, being part of our strength conditioning program, and allow him to be able to prepare himself. I think he's a guy that has the skill set to be an elite football player in this conference. And I'm just really, really excited about Juan and excited to see him develop here in our program. Peyton Hendershot, a big tight end for us here that really, really excited about Peyton. I think his potential is very, very high here, a high ceiling for him athletically. Extremely talented basketball player. Went and watched him play recently and just really kind of was awed by his skill level in that sport. Explosive, big tight end. He's the guy that can play in and out. He can flex out. He can stretch the field. And once again, another played both sides of the football, rushed the passer at times too. But just a guy that once again won the Mr. Football Award in this state for his position. And that's another common theme you hear a lot. We got a lot of good multi-sport guys that play at a very high level in the states they came from. LaDamian Hunt, call him Day Day. Big corner. We've got to get some big corners. It was an emphasis for this class. And both corners we signed are 6-foot corners plus. And LaDamian is another very, very high-character young man that's been raised the right way, coming from Carrollton High School in Georgia, which is just west of Atlanta. And Coach Calhoun's done a great job with that program there, taking over. And Day Day was really a leader for them as the new coach came in, and they played at a high level this season, finished 11-2. And won a bunch of games, and he was the leader of that crew. And they were excited about his physicality and his ability to make plays in the secondary. Caleb Jones, another big guy, 6'8", 320, and 320 is probably conservative. Okay, so he's bigger than that, but he's a guy that really, really excited about his potential. You know, you don't, if you want him big, recruit him big. And that's we've talked about that a lot. He's an all-state player in this state, one of the top 50 players. Coach Mallory played here at Indiana, his high school coach there at Lawrence North, and wanted to do a great job of recruiting. Really had to fend off a lot of guys at the end, especially in SEC school in particular, that with some of the coaching changes really tried to swoop in on him. But it just kind of spoke to the character of the men, I think, that we recruited, their families, the job our staff did. We lost one guy in the whole transition, and that's very rare to happen when there's a coaching change. And so the relationships that we had built with this young man was huge, because he's a guy that we really knew that would have to keep a close reins on. And so I just think as a whole group, it speaks to the work ethic of our coaches. And even today, we had our whole class pretty much sealed by about an hour and a half. And I wasn't shocked by that. We had one guy at the end we were battling with, but bottom line, our guys were very, very on top of their recruits. They were committed to us wholeheartedly, and that didn't change. We had to fight for them, but we, at the end of the day, were able to hold everybody together. Tyler Knight, another offensive lineman, another big-body guy that can move, which is really what we like about Tyler, out of Clearwater, Florida, there at Northside Christian. Played for Mike Allstott. He's the head coach there, and just a very versatile guy, can move, can play multiple positions in the core there on the O-line, and that's what I really like about him. And also he's enrolled with us right now and in school. Very, very good student, comes from another really good family, and a highly successful football program that he came from, won a lot of games there in Florida. Mike McGinnis, a junior college transfer at linebacker, a guy that we had an immediate need there with Marcus's departure as an early guy to the league, and so it gave us a chance to attract a guy that's a team captain and also an All-American and as a JC player. And really excited about getting him here. He's in campus. He's on campus now, enrolled, working out with our team, and getting him in position to be able to compete for that Mike linebacker position. So Mike's a guy that we're excited about. Love his work ethic, love his toughness, and just love the fact that he comes to work every day and has an edge about him. So he's going to fit in well here. LaShawn Minor, Ben Davis High School, a place I know extremely well, and spent many years there and with Coach Kirshner, and really excited about LaShawn. I think he's one of our more talented players for sure. You just watch his film, you watch his highlights. He's a very talented defensive lineman, played basketball as well, another multi-sport guy, and another Mr. Football for his position, won that as a defensive lineman, and has extremely high ceiling. I think he's going to have a chance to be elite. And I'm really excited about LaShawn and getting him here this summer and getting him part of this program. And he's another awesome kid that comes from a good family, and he knows how to work and he knows how to win. And we're excited about having LaShawn a part of the IU family. Craig Nelson, a guy that we really kind of got to know here at the end of the cycle. And, Coach McCullough did a great job recruiting him, because Coach Harris is his high school coach out of Booker T. Everybody in the country comes through there. An undersized back that has a great burst. And we were looking for a big back and then a back with burst. And this is the guy that gives us that kind of burst we're looking for. And once again, another great program. They've won a national championship during his time as a player there. And really, really high-level football there in Miami at Booker T. And he's a guy that's tough, loves to work, loved his family when they came and visited and spent time with them. And Coach McCullough had sold us all on that, and he was absolutely right in everything. His kid's got a chip on his shoulder, something to prove, and those are the kind of guys that I love. Next young man is D'Angelo Wop Filior, and we call him Wop, and that's his pretty much the name everybody calls him. And his mom, though, was quick to point out his name is D'Angelo. She said, "I don't like Wop." I said, "Well, he likes Wop, and that's what everybody calls him." So anyways, he great kid, 91 catches, 20 TDs, another plant product, national type guy we had to compete against a lot of great teams for, explosive player. He's a slot receiver, kick returner, played corner. He's going to be a receiver for us, going to be a slot for us, and dynamic player and a dynamic personality. He kind of takes over the whole room. He's a fun kid, just a really, really neat young man, and couldn't be more fired up to have both Jawan and Wop here with us. It was a relationship piece is really what it came down to, with my son and with me, and those guys feeling confident, and their parents feeling like they're going to be, in a situation where they're going to get the leadership, the guidance, the accountability that they wanted them to have, especially coming that far from home. And he's a great kid that I think is going to have a chance to come in here and have an immediate impact on our program. Traymar Reese, defensive end, 6'4", raw, talented, long. Love this guy. Great kid, been through a lot of tough situations in his life. Lost his mother a year ago, just unexpectedly. And it's hard, you know, he goes through something like this and you want her to be here for you on such a great day. And so his aunt stepped up and has been awesome in his life, and just really a neat young man that I think has got tremendous upside, and excited about his athleticism that he brings to our defense. We don't have a lot of those kind of guys, that we got to get more of those. And I'm really excited about Traymar and what he brings to us, and the character piece as well as a talented young man. Next guy on the list, Nick Tronte. To me, this guy is really what kind of finished off this class to make it really, really special. Nick's the guy that we went after later on in the process. Really was one of those where I kind of went after him once I became the head coach. I knew about this kid. I liked this kid all along. There was just something about him that I just kept coming back to him. And myself, as I would be referred, many of my close friends in the state of Florida, and have a lot of connections there, just kept sending me messages and texts and saying, you gotta consider this guy. And so as he started going on the playoff run, he played great the whole season, and he threw for over 7,000 yards, you know, in his career. But he's at his best when it counts the most, which is what you want. And he's just got that moxie about him. He's got that savvy about him. He's got that special something that he wants to put the team on his back and go score and go win the game. And he's got the ability to run and throw, and he's tough, he's competitive, and I just love this kid. And he won Mr. Football for the whole state. They only give one of those out. They don't have them by class. They give one award for the entire state, and he's in a long list of some great players that have won that award in the state of Florida. Led his team once again to the state championship. And played a great, very talented team, and had a chance to beat him in the end. And everyone in that state would tell you their playoff run was because this young man willed his team through that whole process. And so he's a tough, competitive guy that, once again, high academics, great family, is going to fit in well as an Indiana Hoosier. Hayden Whitehead, young man that, interesting situation. I learned several years ago that Australians punt the ball pretty well. And so I got an Australian punter when I was special teams coordinator at Ole Miss, and got a connection with Pro Kick Australia and the guys that run that. And so reached out to them earlier in the process, and through how that whole process works, which I did before. Once again, we went through and got Hayden here. His first trip to America was his official visit. And so he came here with us, and he's actually a mid-year guy, so he's already here. And really fine young man that we're excited about. He brings the versatility of an Australian punter, where he can punt traditional. He can roll. He's a left-footed punter. He'll roll to his left. He can punt with his right foot as well. And most of those kids from there can do that. Not like it's equal, but they have that ability to do that. And it's just a whole different approach, because as I was explained to me when I first started kind of studying all this, was that the way we're raised throwing the football, they're raised kicking it to each other. And so they're very comfortable with the ball, and that's just one reason why you've seen so many of those in our game collegiately, and it's been a big push, and that's not going to change. So he's here with us, and excited to have Hayden in the fold. Last young man, Michael Ziemba, is another fit in that mold of big guys that can do lots of things. You see him on film playing fullback, playing tight end, playing linebacker, and we recruit him as really an athlete that's going to be probably a defensive lineman, we think. Big 260-pound young man that's 6'3", 6'4" range, and another awesome kid, great grades, tough, hard-nosed, multi-sport guy, basketball player. Like I said, many of these guys are, and really excited about Michael and his flight version. He did get injured this year, missed most of his senior season, and so did not have a lot of film, which kind of probably helped us kind of hide him a little bit. He committed to us earlier over the summer before he was injured, but from a very good high school program, Lake Mary there in Florida, and just north of Orlando, and high caliber young man that once again fits that same type of person that we want to attract here to IU. So that's our class. Couldn't be more thrilled. I'll take questions this time. That's my fault. Okay, Mo Burnham is from Georgia, a 6'2", 220-pound linebacker. And Mo, for us, is a guy that fit a tremendous need. We set out. If you notice, last year we did not take a linebacker in our class. That really wasn't the intent. I got here with 2 weeks before signing day and just did not get what we really wanted, and decided we weren't going to just take a guy just to take a guy. So we said in this class we're going to try and sign 3, and that's what we did. Mo has the flexibility to play the stinger position or even maybe grow into a Mike. He's got length. He was committed to Tennessee prior to our recruiting of him. And another fine young man, that basketball-type player as well, that also runs track and allows him to be able to be a versatile linebacker that can run. You see on his film, very physical, great player there. Raheem Lane is a cornerback from Sebastian River in Florida. He was committed to Minnesota prior to us recruiting him and flipping him to Indiana, and had to fight to the bitter end for him. Another 6-foot corner that has ability to return kicks and punts, and a very, very talented athlete that I really feel like is another one, high ceiling, high academics, a good family, a lot of good people in his life that care a lot about him, and really enjoyed meeting his family throughout the process. So 2 great guys here. Did not mean to leave them out. It's my fault. But excellent additions to our class. And those 2 guys defensively really round out a very strong defensive class for us this year.
You mentioned Britt Berry. With his size and big as he is now, is it possible he could possibly get on tackle down the road?
Yeah, and here's the thing with Britt, and we were very transparent with Britt through the whole process. And he's one of those awesome kids that, Coach, I'll play wherever you want me to play. And so we actually have talked to him about the ability to be on either side of the ball. And so what I don't ever want to do with these guys is ever recruit them with lies. And if we have intention of maybe moving them, then we'll just be open about it. I think that's how because here's the deal. If you are dishonest with them or you kind of mislead them in the process and then you get them here with those misleading whatever, then they're going to not trust you. And if you don't have any trust, you got nothing. And so that situation there, he's going to start on defense, but he is a big old kid that probably isn't done growing. And so I love, I watched him play basketball, and I did a few weeks ago, and kid can move, he's aggressive, and yeah, I mean, he's got, and there's several guys. We told him in the process, hey, you may be either side of the ball. We don't know yet. We just want to get the best guys that fit with us, that have the attitude, Coach, I'll do whatever I can to help this team win. And you win with guys like that. Relationships, and there's no question about it. And I think that the key to that was they were built a long time ago, and we did it for a whole year. And so when you have that relationship built, then even though, like, I take a guy like Peyton, his position coach was not here anymore. Coach Wilson recruiting as well. He wasn't here, and so he was kind of like, at first he just wanted to kind of figure it all out. And but it didn't take us long at all to get him to feel comfortable again. But if there had not been a relationship, and I also believe this, and it's something that I brought with me from the places I've been, we staff recruit. So when you staff recruit, guys are going to get other jobs. I mean, it's part of the profession. They get opportunities. Guys that are position coaches want to be coordinators. Guys that are coordinators may have a chance to be a head coach. And so those things are going to happen. And so I've learned a long time ago, you better staff recruit. And when you staff recruit, then they know everybody. So if someone happens to leave, it's not like the one guy that I felt connected with is now gone, so I now look elsewhere. And so I think those 2 things, and it all goes back to relationships, and it takes energy to do that, it takes time to do that, but that's how we recruited, especially defensively, and it just filtered into other parts of our program.
We all know the quality of football in Florida. You got 9 kids from Florida. Is that part of the, as a staff, having a lot of relationships down there?
It is, and even Coach Fry, who's no longer with us. I mean, he had tremendous ties to Florida, and obviously I've spent, I was a high school coach in Florida for 5 years before I ever came to Indiana as a high school coach. So it's all about relationships, and I think that there's no question that helps a lot. And then when you get some young men from an area, that helps. You come up here and you visit, and you got a guy that you knew, or this is one of your teammates, and that's happened. If you see there are several of these, there's teammates involved. Even Mike Zimba, is teammates with one of our receivers, and with Nick. And so the bottom line is that helps. So I just think that those connections are good, but it's a lot of good football players down there. And that's an area that we have recruited well in the past, and I don't see that changing.
How likely is, put like currently, is he gonna have a chance to compete for the job, or how do you break?
Yeah, he's the thing that's a little different is he's not a mid-year enrollee, and so I think that it's challenging to do that. But there's no question. I want to make it very clear. I don't care what position it is, and we talked about even we signed a punter. Well, I told everybody that's here, it's the best punter punts, okay? Best quarterback plays, and so if you come in here and you have an opportunity to whatever time you're given, and so if you're a freshman, you come in June, and you've got June and July to make an impression and prepare yourself to compete at the highest level, the best players play. So, yeah, he's going to have an opportunity to compete for that position like anybody else. Is that tough to do as a freshman? Yes, it is. But the best players are going to play, period. I don't care what grade they're in.
So the recruit you get in the sense of an offensive line coach, don't you have that done by spring practice?
I would say, hopefully within a week. I wanted to get through signing day and focus on that and then get that squared away here in a week.
What would you say like the 3 or 4 biggest things you guys got with this class? You talked about body type and some other things. What would you say are the key things you got?
Okay, I think number one thing that sticks out to me that we got young men that fit IU. They are tough kids that care about school and want to compete. So that to me is getting a young man that fits that is extremely important. Okay. The second thing I feel like we got are a lot of big bodies. We had an emphasis here as a staff. Let's go out and get some bigger, some length, some size, and let's allow ourselves to be in a better position from a young man to be able to compete against the Big Ten teams and the size of those teams to be able to allow us to do that. But obviously, you got to have speed. That doesn't change. And so, big guys that can move, and I think we addressed that. And then the other part of it is guys that are very versatile. I feel like you look at this list of guys, you got guys that can really play a lot of positions. And I think that's really, really important to me is to get guys that, I don't want to pigeonhole guys. Sometimes, Ashawn Riggins really didn't play hard corner at all in high school. He was a receiver, and he was a really good basketball player. And so we use those two things to project him as a corner. He ends up coming in here and starting as a freshman. So, to me, you just kind of get the right body types with the right kind of character and the right kind of competitive spirit, and then you get those guys in the right spot. So I think that this gives us a lot of flexibility with a lot of these guys to be able to mix and match them, and once we get them here, figure out where's the best place for them to play.
You talked about it a little bit, just what was the process like recruiting your son? And I imagine it probably wasn't something that only started here. But I mean, what was it like? Did you just kind of go through
It was different. I just think that as a parent, well, first of all, the whole calendar is really, really it makes it difficult as a dad to take him places. Because when we're doing our job of running camps and working, then you're doing that. And so you can't leave and go take him on visits over the summer. And plus we knew he was going to be a mid-year guy, so we really weren't going to have time to do the January visits. So then when it goes dead, the campuses, nobody can take any visits, even coaches. So there's a 2-week period over the summer when you really would have a time for me in my schedule to go do it. So it was really kind of a tough situation. And so it started back when I was at South Florida with Coach Taggart. We kind of had to work out something for me to be able to go do that. And that's where it started. And even there, and they were the first ones to offer me. And it was funny because they came to me and they said, "Hey, we want to offer your son." And I'm like, "All right, go ahead." I mean, I said, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't want to recruit him. I don't want to evaluate him. I just want you guys to treat him like anybody else, but take me out of the mix. And if you feel like he's good enough to play, then we'll go. And I want you to treat me as a dad. Because what happens sometimes with coaches' kids is they get kind of treated differently, and you don't want to do that. I want him to be recruited by his position coach and go through the whole process of him feeling like he got recruited, not that, hey, he's Coach Allen's kid over there and he's just always around. And so, but it's just different because everybody knows him and he's there and he comes to practice, and so it's just a different. But at the same time, it's really a neat experience for us, and we feel really, really blessed, And he's just one of those kids that has worked really hard, and he ain't gonna always be the best athlete, in the group, But for whatever reason, he's always elevated, and you hear what his high school coaches say about him, and that's them talking and not me. And so he's a kid that has a tremendous amount of character. He's a 4.5 student on a 4-point scale. Obviously cares about school, and just won the Scholar Athlete Award for the whole area of Tampa Bay. He's going back down next week to get that award. And he's really a top-notch kid that's going to work his tail off, and I'm proud of him for that. You know, he's maximized what he's been given, but he's been around it. You know, he's seen, when you're a coach's kid, you see, he goes to all the college games, and he sees the college players when he's younger, and it's kind of allowed him to aspire to that. So, but it's a hard situation, I think, in some ways. But you know, we actually went through this whole process, and I called coaches. I talked to Coach Ferentz, said, you know, do you think it's a good idea? You know, should we do this, or should he just go somewhere else and make his own way? And so we talked it through, and he gave me his advice. I talked to a couple other guys that had coached their sons, and you know, I played for my dad, but that was in high school, and which is different. And so, but the difference is if you play for your dad in college, okay, you're with him all the time. If you don't, I'll never see him play, ever. Pretty much, maybe once a year at the most. And so it really is kind of one extreme or the other. So we just kind of, first we thought it wasn't going to be a good idea, and then we just prayed about it and talked to enough people and said, you know what, hey, this is what we feel like is best for him, and then just worked out. I mean, I never dreamed I'd be his head coach. You know, that wasn't the plan. You know, obviously I was going to be the DC here, and he was going to come here, and God had a different plan. So obviously this is where we're at, and he's going to be treated like everybody else. And I say that to our players. You know, he's a player over here. He's going to have to earn his way, and he knows that, and that's part of the deal. And what happens here stays here, and he doesn't go run home and tell mom, because that's not how it works. So, but no, seriously, he knows that, and that's kind of the unique piece there. You know, you get different, and even Coach Ferentz kind of joked about that. I said I think they had a deal where they came home and some things that happened at practice were kind of talked about, and it was real quickly the law was laid down that that's not going to be that way, because you can't function in that manner. And that's kind of that part I kind of get, because you get that from high school too. You know, you got to leave it out there and separate. But he's in the dorms, and he's a normal student like everybody else, and just happens to be my son.
Is there any area that you didn't feel like the recruiting was able to help in, or that you can? You know,
I can honestly say no. If you go through each level defensively, we addressed the D-line. I feel like we got the number of backers we wanted. I feel like we got 2 corners that I love, and we got a couple safeties. And this is a class that wasn't going to be a heavy safety class, because we've got some older guys there. If you look at the numbers based on how it felt, we just needed corners. And so we got some guys, too, that had the flexibility to play corner as well. Then offensively, get a couple receivers, get a couple running backs, got a good mix of O-linemen, got a quarterback, got a tight end. So I think it's a very balanced class if you look at the way it all kind of worked out. And there's always a guy or two that you try to get that, you know, but I've learned this. It's not the guys that you miss on that hurt you. It's the ones that you take that you shouldn't. And to me, that's the key. And so you're always going to recruit guys, and you get a lot of guys you want. There's always a few that you don't get. That's the way for everybody. But you make sure you get the right ones, and that's the key.
What made schools hesitate at first with Nick Tronte, and what did you see in the film?
Yeah, I think, because we had that question too. You know, you go through. He's not when you go watch a 7-on-7, he's going to be a good player. He's not going to be like, oh, that's like the next. But when there's pads on and 11 guys playing, which is football, he rises and he shines. And that, to me, was the key factor for me, because I wanted to put the tape on and see that. I didn't care what he did in 7-on-7. He's still good at that, obviously, but he's not 6'3" or 4, you know. And I think that in today's game, the way the recruiting the quarterback position goes, most guys are done before their senior season. Okay? So most quarterbacks, and this is another piece, this would be the second reason why I think this happened. Most people have their quarterbacks committed, and this is true. And so you get to your senior season, oftentimes we don't really watch that senior film. And so I thought he really grew from his junior to his senior season in terms of just performing at a high level, and I felt like that he just continued to improve. And so by the time the film that we watch, you're thinking, what are we missing here? I mean, this kid looks really, really talented. And so you kind of go back and you find this and that, and at the end, you know, he had several places that we had to try and fight to get him from, you know. So, bottom line is, I don't have all the answers for that, but I think those are key things. The recruiting of a quarterback is a very sped up process, sometimes too fast. And so this is a guy that I think just has that grit and that toughness, and that when the lights are on and it's 11-on-11 football, he's at his best, especially in those big games. And that's what you want.
I know it's probably easy to look at roads to check how guys will look in the spring or fall camp, but is there anyone who's maybe wired a little differently, kind of like Marcelino was coming in last year, a guy who just kind of draws up plays in his sleep?
Yeah, and I tell you what, we liked Marcelino, but I don't know if I would have projected. Now, when he showed up to camp, in June, I knew the kid was very, very focused. Would I have said that standing right here in front of you on signing day? No, we were excited about him for sure, but I don't think I ever knew he's going to be that good. So for me, if I think of the class, a guy kind of sticks out to me that has that similar is Fitzgerald. I think Brian Fitzgerald is a guy to me that just kind of has that. He's a football player, and has the same qualities, that Marcelino had, that similar mindset, not quite as big, as Lino, but that kind of jumps out to me. I think that's a high quality. I think Tronte has that. I just think he has that look about him that's different. And there's a focus and there's a seriousness to it that is different than the average guy. And so, and all these guys, they all got a lot to prove. To me, this signing day is just the beginning. They're all a clean slate. We can all be excited. There's not a coach in America that ain't excited about his class. They're all saying all these great things, and I get all that. That's part of the deal. But these guys got a lot of hard work ahead of them to be able to come and play in the Big Ten and compete for the championships. So I love these guys. I think there's going to be several that there's always going to be surprises. There's going to be some that, don't end up being what we thought they were going to be for whatever reason. But I do feel like that there's a core vein to these guys and what they represent that's gotten me excited as their head coach.
When you look at the rankings, some of the recruiting experts, at least from a Big Ten standpoint, don't have you at the top, you're at the bottom. Is that concerned? Do you worry about that, or is it more about, as you mentioned, the right fit?
Honestly, I couldn't even tell you what we're ranked, so that just really doesn't bother me. I know that the bottom line for me is, because who makes those rankings up? It's not coaches, okay? So the bottom line is that you go through and I didn't even know how many stars some of these guys were when we recruited them. Matter of fact, I tell our guys, don't look at the stars and don't look who's offered them. Watch the film and trust your evaluation, okay? And there's no question, we want to be able to recruit the best players we can get. I get that. And sometimes those rankings are more accurate than others, okay? But I will say this, it takes a disciplined coach to be able to say, I like this guy. I don't care if anybody else likes him. Trust your eval. If we think he's a good player, go recruit him. If we don't, I don't care how many stars he's got in the other direction, all right? Because that can get you, and I've been in those meetings where that gets you in lots of trouble, where you're just trying to pick a guy because of what somebody else thinks of him. And that's the reality. So I just know that you have to trust your eval on your guys and get guys that fit your program.
Are you guys still looking to possibly add somebody late in the process? Do you have room for?
Not really expecting to do that. I mean, there's always unexpected things might happen if a guy popped up, but I'll not say we're having that as a target because we really feel like we numerically addressed the areas we wanted to address.
Half a dozen kids in the state of Indiana, is that kind of like the target number you want to have? Or is that
Well, it depends on, I want to have a good core from Indiana. I do. And I feel like you look at that list, you look at the list of guys in Indiana and who all went Division I places this year. We got the majority of them. And so I want to do that. And I just was on the phone already with 2018 linebacker from Indianapolis, already today, talking about next year's class and our goals for being able to be encouraging and not encouraging but just, convincing these guys why they should stay home. And I want to get the best players in Indiana to stay home. I do. And we're going to approach it that way, and we're not going to bow to anybody else or allow anybody else to think they got an edge on us. If they're our guys in state, they're not going to get recruited any harder than they are by us. So, yes, it is a priority.
speaking of that
Well, I think the positions are going to change. You know, we really were heavy D-line this year. There'll be less taken at that spot. I think there's going to be the linebacker spot. We're going to emphasize the more of the athlete. The stinger position is going to be addressed in that class. That's kind of the way I think of it right now. Safeties, so that kind of body type there. You know, and then up front on the offensive line, is always you got to get a good core of guys every year, and that they're going to need to be big. And so, and then I just, you know, I like big receivers. You know, I think that's a matchup problem for us in the secondary. And so, and I want fast tailbacks. You know, I just think that's guys that can go. You know, so that to me is, I'm sure it's not anything different anybody else would want, but it's all about, you know, you just got your numbers, your scholarship numbers, and how they fall, and you just got to address those needs. And every class is a little bit different.
In terms of scheduling and recruits, you guys are playing games in Florida, Georgia, Virginia. How big is that for exposure in those areas?
I think it's important. You know, even last year we played down at FIU, and coaches stayed down there and recruited. You know, after the game, we played on a Thursday night, stayed and recruited on Friday, the high school games, and I just think that we invited all those area kids to come watch us play, and so, you know, that's just kind of what you want to do, you know, and so I think that without question, you have a chance to play teams from that part of the country. It helps with, you know, getting them to be able to get their interest in us, and we have a really good brand. We really do. Outside of, you get down in the South, and we've got a great alumni base. We really do, and it helps us as we're going through, and from a post-collegiate perspective and their job placement, you know, those are all big parts of it, and that helps us. And IU's done a great job, you know, marketing that, and the IU symbol, you know, when you walk into school, they know who you are. Go ahead.
Some of your defensive guys play, especially from the area, like Deshaun Miner and Fitzgerald. It seems like you went after guys who could really hit.
Oh, yeah.
Not just, you know, make the tackle guys.
We want explosive guys. I want guys that when they hit, I mean, I want that. You know, linebackers, safeties, D linemen. It's that burst. Everything's that acceleration. From that 3 to 4 yards from, you know, either it's my position or as I'm attacking the ball carrier, I'm looking for that surge. You know, and that's what you want to show up on film, and whatever position it is, that to me is what you want.
I know he kind of popped up with something on the radar late, but Toronto, you talked about wanting more mobility in the quarterback. I mean, is that kind of at least maybe the profile of the quarterback you want, a guy that can make more plays with his feet?
Well, I just think this, and this is how, you know, I'm not a big, I got to get a dual threat guy. Here's what I want, and I want a guy that the defense has to count for, that the D-line has to deal with in their pass rush, that they can't just rush for and get a bunch of depth in their drops and not worry about the quarterback being able to make somebody miss and extend the play. Okay? I think you have to be very careful, and I tell this with we recruit these guys. You know, I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to be a system where it's all a bunch of quarterback runs and he's just getting pounded. I just think in this league, I just think that's tough. You better have 3 of those guys lined up to be able to take the next hits. And so, but he has to be able to extend the play, make guys miss, and make them account for him. And, you know, Nick's a guy that can move around pretty effectively, and he's 210 pounds, and so he's got a pretty good frame on him to be able to handle a hit or two. You know, but you just think about the teams that we play. You know, if you think about Penn State and their quarterback, you know, they didn't do a bunch of quarterback design runs, but he hurt you with his legs, and he can extend the play, and it's just you got to account for him. And when you do, where do you have to count for him with? It's in the secondary. And so that changes everything. And so it just, to me, it really affects the way you scheme on our side of the ball as a defensive guy. So just having that ability to extend those plays is what I'm looking for. However that looks, you know, but he needs to be a passer first. I want an accurate quarterback that throws the football well first, and then his legs are the next step in the process.
Coach, you had several defensive line recruits, and Mark Hagan in his second season back in Bloomington. What makes him such an effective recruiter?
He's relentless. It's the same thing that he does as a coach. It's just, it never stops. It's just constant. I mean, he's already got a good pool of guys for 2018 that we're targeting. And, I mean, we had a great pool of guys to pick from on the D-line. And so that's why you get a guy or you miss a guy. You just kind of like, you can't get them all, you know. And so, but I think I would attribute it to that. You know, a lot of great work. He's a hard worker and knows what we're looking for, and built a great pool of guys and then went after them. and built relationships with those players, with the families, and all those that were going to be helping make the decision, and did a really good job of that.
Just kind of loosely, do you hope to perhaps bring a quarterback in every year?
Yes, I would think so.
All right, thanks, Tom. Thank you.
Mhm.